Simon Hanselmann has been one of the funniest, the best, and the most prolific cartoonists on the indie and self-published scene over the last 10 or so years. And Simon invokes this modern spirit of the classic underground comics with an X that I absolutely enjoy. So today's episode, I'm going to be going through all of the collected editions that Simon has put out through Fantagraphics. Stay tuned and watch this video until the end. And we're back. My name is Taylor. This is Taylor Talks Comics. Thank you for joining me on my 31 days of horror comics. I've been doing this all month long. Every day I've been doing a different video on a different horror comic or horror comic related topic. If you've missed out on those videos, then there's a handy dandy playlist over in the playlist tab for you to check out. And please subscribe. You don't want to miss out on the rest of the 31 days of horror comics and the rest of the year. We'll be doing more videos all throughout the year. So subscribe there, give the video a thumbs up, comment down below with your thoughts. If you've read Simon Hanselmann's comics, I'd like to hear your thoughts on them. If you're a fan, or if you've never even heard of Simon, let me know in the comments if this intrigued you and made you want to buy Simon's books. And this is actually kind of serendipitous because just on the Fantagraphics website, I just talked about this on my live show. I do go live every Wednesday at noon Eastern. Do a live show there where I could chat with you guys about comics. I just talked about this today on my live channel, the day I'm dropping this, that they are doing a Simon Hanselmann, Megg and Mogg type library where it's going to be paperback editions that put all this into chronological order, into perfect reading order for you. But I'll still keep these editions because I absolutely love them. I think they're really awesomely designed and fun stories. But so let's dive into this. I'm going to go over these books in a chronological order of how they were published. So just show you the spines real quick. They are all different shapes and sizes and things. But I'm going to go over them chronologically in publishing order. Simon does have a recommended reading order, which I don't have on hand. Sorry, I'm trying to stack my books over here. I don't have it on hand, but really I think you could read these in any order. I don't think there's any sort of special... Like, you'll get more out of it because there is an ongoing story throughout the main line of Megg and Mogg. There's some other books, like Crisis Zone especially, which is like kind of out of continuity story. But regardless, I think you should pick up one and read it. If you've never read this before, whichever one intrigues you the most, pick it up maybe and check it out. But as I said in my preamble, I do think Simon Hanselmann definitely invokes that spirit of the classic underground comics, but with a modern millennial type of vibe to it and energy. And these stories are so much fun. And why am I even talking about this during horror comics and Halloween? Well, the main characters of this story is a witch with a black cat, an owl, and a werewolf. Classic horror characters. But what if those horror type characters were put into an underground comic? So that's kind of what the vibe is here, I guess. But these are beautifully designed books, especially these first, well, all of them are beautifully designed, but the first three are all of the same trim size. And they all, look great on the shelf together. But Simon does design his own books himself. And this is Megahex. This was the first one that was released. And all just like the little attentions to detail. Simon's such a thoughtful cartoonist and thoughtful designer, I feel like. And just all the little attentions to detail on the book. There's nothing slapped together. This isn't haphazard at all. And just really beautiful painted artwork too. And the spine, awesome, looks great on the shelf. In the back, I even love like the, almost like a behind the scenes of like the color grid and things, the color palette. And all of this stuff hand lettered on the back too. And then the end papers are always beautiful as well. Oh, what's that? Oh, that's that's an old receipt from my comic book shop that no longer exists. That's depressing. But yeah, so here's the beautiful end papers, look painted and wonderful. Then we dive into it. We have a great table of contents and the indicia and everything's handwritten over there. And this is where the layouts of the stories are. They range from like one-page strips to maybe a few page strips here and there, kind of like vignettes and episodes. And this is a stoner comedy. it's all about these characters basically just getting into hijinks, always looking for money to get more drugs, always always like failures in life, just losing their jobs, constantly pissing each other off or breaking each other's hearts or what have you. Just like constant. It's hilarious though. So if you're a fan of like stoner comedies, like the classic stoner comedy Underground Comics, I feel like is like Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. It's definitely in that line, but with a whole different sensibility and modernization and different cast of characters. And I absolutely love Simon Hanselmann's artwork. He does everything practically. None of this is done digitally. It's all pen and pencil on paper with watercoloring to, with watercoloring for the color aspects to it as well. I love the panel layouts. He goes from smaller to bigger. He has such a great talent for like the comedic punchlines too of the sequencing between different panels. It's just hilarious. And this is a good introduction to these characters since this is the first one, if you're wanting to get into the story. I don't know which ones are in print or whatnot, or which ones are not in print, but I believe that, or I assume that the first volume of the paperback collections will probably contain a lot of this material from this first book. There's a little biography back here with special thank yous, and then a picture of Simon, and then that's the end of Megahex. Up next we have Megg and Mogg go in Amsterdam. Megg and Mogg, I should have said, are the names of the witch and the cat, and they're in love. So it's a very strange relationship that they have. But again, they're constantly pissing each other off or breaking each other's hearts. And again, these painted in papers are just amazing. Simon Hanselmann did have an art book that was released through Mansion Press that I've never got my hands on, but I want to because all of it is just Simon's painted artwork that he's done over the years of these characters. So this is the same characters, again, progressing in their relationships and their friendships and their hijinks. But this is them going to Amsterdam, which you can imagine a stoner comedy, a bunch of stoner characters going to Amsterdam probably leads to a lot more hilarity and hijinks. And I do love seeing the progression of Simon's artwork. I love anytime they're on drugs too, the trippy aspects that Simon draws with these characters when they're high. And the cast of characters just grows as these go on as well. Owl is like the one that always follows the rules, and he gets pissed off whenever his roommates, Megg and Mogg, are trashing the place or not paying for the rent or what have you. And Megg and Mogg are, again, they're always in a relationship together, the cat and the witch. And they're always breaking up or on the outs with each other for whatever reason. And then Werewolf is he's like the Kramer, if you're going to do a Seinfeld reference here, a Seinfeld comparison. But he's like the crazy character that always comes over and is totally off the wall, totally unhinged, and a total screw up. So him being involved with these characters is where a lot of the hilarity and the hijinks and the crazy adventures get going. The third book is called One More Year. This collects some older material, and I love the design of this book too. Like, you see all the shiny, glittery aspects to it. Again, Simon goes all out with his book design. Absolutely love it. And the papers on this one, again, just beautiful, beautiful work. And I think that's where you see the true craft of Simon's artwork too. So I think if you just flip through and saw some of these strips, you'd be like, oh, that's someone with like this minimalist, cartoony style. But then you see these pieces, and you're like, wow, like Simon's got a lot of talent from an artistic standpoint, which then lends itself within the strips to tell some really funny and comedic aspects to it. And the storytelling, again, is just top notch. But this is One More Year. I think this is when Megg and Mogg go to counseling, or was that in Amsterdam? Or Bad Gateway? I'm forgetting which one. It's been so long since I've read these, but eventually they do go to counseling, like relationship counseling, because their relationship's really on the rocks. I don't want to spoil anything, but one of them cheats on the other one, and they're really just confused on where they stand with each other. Here's Bad Gateway. So this one's a taller book. It's kind of like coffee table sized, just by comparison here. But this is like a really gorgeous looking book. Again, the book design on these is immaculate. It really makes you want to, like, as an art object, it makes you want to hold these in your hands and flip through them and have them on your shelf. And this is not a series to be read digitally, I don't think, because they truly are kind of something to be held with these books. And I do like the gilded pages are gilded in black on the edges too, on this book. But yeah, so it comes off as like a stoner comedy, because that's exactly what it is. Here's some of that painted artwork I was talking about. It's absolutely gorgeous. However, there's a lot of like mental health issues all that are expressed all throughout. Now, I don't think there's like any sort of like motivational like mental health. You're not going to see any characters like go through this growth where you feel, if you have your own mental health issues, you're like, oh wow, like that's really motivating. And you just see these characters kind of constantly screwing up their lives. And it does get depressing at times, but from a comedic standpoint, I think one animated series that I really enjoy that I would compare it to would be like BoJack Horseman, if you guys have read that or watched that show. I think that show did a good job of having like some comedy to it, but also dealing with a lot of mental health issues. I think that's where Megg and Mogg really sings. I think on the surface, you start reading and you're like, aha, this is a funny stoner comedy. But as you get enthralled with these characters, you really get sucked into their stories and their lives and want to know what's going to go on next with them. So this is again, a gorgeous collection. This is, I think, where Simon's artwork really took his artwork up a further notch than he already was within this book. And again, with the book design as well. So here's the back, and here's some more painted pieces by Simon. Just amazing work. There's a lot of drug use throughout these books too. Not just pot. There's a lot of hardcore drugs used as well. And now that was the tallest book. Now we're going to go to a smaller book. And this is Seeds and Stems. And this is a collection of old mini comics. Because Simon Hanselmann started off the Megg and Mogg series and started off his career doing mini comics and working, hustling and working the tables at conventions and things. And, excuse me, that's where a lot of that material came from that we'd already looked at. But this is where some of the earlier material came from. So in a chronological order, this is kind of like out of continuity in certain aspects, because it takes place, a lot of the stuff is like earlier tales and things. But like I said, you can read this in any order. But this book design is amazing as well. You can see it looks like a pill bottle, on like a prescription pill bottle, which again, dealing with that mental health issues. But look at this dust jacket is truly orange. It has like that pill bottle inscription sticker label on it. And the book underneath is just like a fully designed painted piece of Simon's. And this is, I'll show you the end papers too, because got to show off this gorgeous end papers from Simon. But this is hilarious too, because on the inside, in the indicia, it even says, storage notice. I zoom in a little bit. This book has been designed primarily for toilet reading. Please shelve toilet adjacent. Plastic piss guard included. So that's what this is the piss guard, because this is for toilet reading. Again, just self-effacing, self-deprecation throughout this, as far as like Simon kind of knows where he stands as a cartoonist, and if he's got to make fun of himself, then other people, before other people can. There's also all different colored paper stocks in here, which I'm always a sucker for. So I'm assuming that those original mini comics were printed on those color paper. And you'll see like fully colored comics, some black and white, some one color comics, all throughout here. And these are all just fun little mini comics that Simon did throughout the years and released at conventions. So it's a good fun read too if you want a good sampling of what Simon has to offer to the comics world. This next one is definitely out of continuity, because this one is Crisis Zone. And maybe the most famous or most well-known of the group, of the stack of books, because this is a pandemic comic. This came out in 2020. Simon Hanselmann, like all of us, were trapped at home. And this is a bigger book, too. I guess maybe, I don't know. Let's see, compared to Bad Gateway real fast. No, Bad Gateway is still taller than it. But I digress. Was trapped at home and wanted to do daily comics, or comics throughout the pandemic on Instagram. And that's what this collects. But not just a comic strip. This puts these characters, Megg, Mogg, Owl, Booger, and the whole bunch here, through the pandemic. So as we were learning about the pandemic and learning news and stories and things, these characters were experiencing it as well. So like I said, this is out of continuity because this is just them going through their own crisis zone of the pandemic. And this is a paperback, but again, the artwork is still gorgeous. You have to consider that this was a daily comic. Absolutely love this bear. Just freaking awesome. And here's some more painted pieces. So Simon was working a little bit faster and looser with the artwork all throughout this. But it's just amazing to see these characters that you're already well known. If you've read those previous books, you already know pretty well. And to see them kind of thrown into this world that we were all experiencing through the pandemic was a lot of fun. And admittedly, I didn't read this on as it was being serialized on Instagram, but I was happy that they collected it because I don't want to miss out on any of Simon's comics. And I was excited to read it in this collected form. There's even a director's commentary in the back here where Simon's talking about the different strips. So you can see like the different page numbers and Simon talking about it, giving a little background on it and what was happening in the real world. So that's a great addition to this. And then 6 weeks later, which I think that, I don't know if that was serialized on Instagram or if it was just done for this collection. And then here's the other stuff that, all the other books that we talked about. And we have 2 more here. Below Ambition. This is Megg and Werewolf Jones, who's the werewolf, sorry, going on a band on tour, and their band is called Horse Mania. And it says that they are the worst band in town, that are a test to the audience's patience. So this is all of them kind of going on the road and working the circuit of trying to become a punk band. And their music apparently sucks. But this is Horse Mania. It even came with a record here, which I have not listened to this, so I don't know what it sounds like. Let me know in the comments if you have, if it's worth listening to. But this is another fun, just full of hijinks story of these characters going on the road with their band. Simon's never runs out of ideas for comedy, that's for sure. And then the most recent release in collected edition form, because Simon has been doing, if you go on his website, follow him on Instagram and whatnot, go on his website, he's been self-publishing the single issues for what will make the next collected edition, I'm assuming. So you can catch up there if you want before the next collected edition comes out. But this is Werewolf Jones and Sons Deluxe Summer Fun Annual. And this has comics by Simon Hanselmann and Josh Pettinger. So this Josh Pettinger of Tedward fame, 100 big pages. This was done in the style of the British annuals. So if you're familiar with like Beano and those British annuals, I love the inner dust jacket as well. You can even, like, it's a reversible. You can flip it around if you want. Then I did pre-order it, so I got the Werewolf Jones Guide to Parenting, which is hilarious because Werewolf Jones, like I said, he's a screw-up. He's always the biggest screw-up of the group and doing crazy things, but he also has 2 twin boys. So imagine how he is as a parent. So I got that little mini comic as well. And here's the inside of the book. And this is mostly based on Werewolf Jones and his sons. But Megg, Mogg, and Owl all make appearances throughout here as well. And Werewolf Jones, again, is just a hilarious character. And him trying to be a parent, but he's like the worst parent ever. And his twins are just constantly getting into trouble themselves because, well, they are free reign to do whatever they want because Werewolf Jones is always, you know, off doing something else. But yeah, there is artwork in here by Josh Pettinger as well. So you get to see his style. And Simon Hanselmann did a strip inside the Tedward collection, the hardcover that I have covered that on a previous video if you want to check that out. But there's a lot of great stuff. I think it's one of the funniest cartoonists, the funniest writers in comics today. It's always a joy whenever a new comic comes out from Simon Hanselmann. and I'm excited that he's collecting them now in this chronological order from Fantagraphics, hoping to get more eyeballs on those books. But in the meantime, I'd pick up one or two of these. Let me know. Drop in the comments if you've read Simon Hanselmann, what you think of his work, and let me know if you're going to pick up any of these, and if I've sold you on them, or if these seem like they're absolutely grotesque and awful comics. Let me know that as well. Please give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below with those thoughts. Subscribe if you haven't already. We have 2 more days in the 31 Days of Horror Comics, so join me for that, and keep talking comics.